I had big plans for this crazy intro that involved the moped and the motorcycle and other things I was doing while I was not working on the RX8. But the moped has a dead battery, the 350 needs new spark coils, so neither of them work right now, and I need to make a video. So it's been a really long time since my last video, and it's not that I haven't been working on anything, it's just that there was kind of a priority shift trying to get other things done before winter, get the car done. There was this brief moment in time where I had this crazy idea that I could actually get the car done in like a month and a half, so I was trying to do that and then realized that was stupid, and then I hadn't filmed anything. And then I tried to build a motorcycle in 2 weeks. So that's just been kind of a whirlwind here. So we're just going to go over and recap all the things that have happened since my last video. As you can see, I've accumulated some new parts for the build, so I'll go over those real quick and see what we got. I went with just a basic flywheel for now because the lightweight ones were pretty expensive. But I did jump right away to an Exedi Stage 2 performance clutch. So that is a sprung 3-puck clutch, as you can see here. The pressure plate is inside this box. I didn't think that was worth talking about. I got some end links for the rear sway bar. Those are not super exciting, but they were necessary. I was able to get a precision turbo intercooler from a guy on Facebook Marketplace. It only has one little dent in it, but it took like 75% off the price for it being slightly used. The story goes that he blew his S2000 up using this intercooler at like 45 pounds of boost or something crazy. He was trying to get 800 horsepower out of his stock block and just blew up on the dyno. So he was just selling off all his parts. So we're going to run this intercooler and see how she chooches. This monstrosity right here is the stock turbo and manifold and all the bits that I haven't really sorted out yet from I believe an HHR Super Sport. So this is the stock GM turbo, but there was a kit from Chevy Racing, or their performance division, or whatever it was called, that got these, the HHR or the Cobalt or whatever, to 290 at the crank with maintaining the factory warranties. So I think there's enough boost in this little guy to give me to kind of a good starting power number, and we can upgrade turbos later if need be. Next up, there's a few parts that are kind of boring but extremely necessary. We have an exhaust manifold gasket. This is a new gasket for the valve cover. There's another couple pieces inside here. We have the pilot bearing for the clutch, the new main seal for the engine, and then this is an interesting thing that I needed that I thought I would get with when I bought the transmission, but I ended up needing to source it on eBay. Luckily, a guy was just selling this part of the transmission. So you can see there's this little, I don't know, bushing kind of guy on the roller there, and that interfaces on the transmission to right in there. So getting that is crucial, because otherwise I can't put a shift knob on, can't shift the transmission, and I'd prefer to not be shifting with a screwdriver all the time. Things have been happening in the engine bay. So this is what I'm staring at now every time I come out into the garage here. So the engine bay has been cleaned up. We removed a few tabs along the way that we didn't need. We also removed the entirety of the rain guard and then kind of just crimped everything together, spot welded it, and then seam welded the whole deal all the way down. Almost started the car on fire. Well, I did start the car on fire, but not super bad, because I forgot about the sound deadening on the backside that I thought I pulled, but I didn't. So I looked up and saw flames through the windshield. Didn't even need the fire extinguisher though, so everything's good there and nothing to worry about. But once that was all sorted out, cleaned up, degreased the whole engine bay, and then I used a hammer finish paint just to add a little bit of texture to the whole deal. And then I did a clear coat of enamel over top of that. Subframe went back in, just need to finish up this little steering rack guy there. And that's it for the engine bay. We'll move on to suspension next. Things we have done with the front is we left the front shocks as is, because we're going to see how the car sits with the new engine in it. The upper control arm right there was removed, cleaned up, and got new poly bushings all the way through. The lower control arm, which is right there, has a recall on it, so I'm going to wait till the recall gets done to put the new bushings in. But so that, yeah, that's that. And the front spindle was removed, cleaned up, and painted black because black's cool, and I just wanted it to stay pretty for a little bit. So that's the front suspension. Both sides are done and in, and we are onto the back. There's a lot of fingerprints to clean up on the dust shield here, as you can see, but the back is kind of a surprise. I was planning on putting in new bushings into all the suspension links. This is like a 4-bar link suspension with a tow bar, so it's kind of a 5-bar link. And it was a little tricky because we got all these bushings out. I ordered the bushing kit, pulled all the arms out, pulled the bushings, did the whole thing. And then it was like, well, we really should clean up the subframe. So the subframe came out, the whole back end of the car was out. Then it was clean the diff up. So we removed the diff from the subframe and then cleaned up the rear subframe, painted it, cleaned up the diff, painted the diff, cleaned up the axles, painted the axles, cleaned up all the bars, painted the bars, and cleaned up the spindles, and then painted the brake shield, which is now all scuffed up and beat up from installation. So there were 2 eccentric bolts per side in the rear subframe, and both of them on both sides were they were just seized, and we couldn't cut them out, and we had to like torch them out in this whole big mess. So I ended up needing to buy new eccentric bolts. So that's kind of my notes about those guys there. Then the pinch bolt for the toe ball joint is right there. And that guy was really stuck. That ended up needing a pneumatic hammer. It was a disaster. So we had that. So then I had a shopping list of here because when I bought the bushing kit, as you can see, there's, let's see here, where is it? Reuse and make. So when I bought the energy suspension kit, it didn't come with absolutely everything. So it didn't come for anything of the toe link, and the lower lateral link needed the sleeve reused, and that sleeve was seized into the eccentric bolt. So I ended up needing to make everything for that, which is fine. It worked out. I have a lathe at work that I have access to. So these are my crappy drawings of notes, but I was able to turn all the parts that I needed. I needed a sleeve and a bushing, 2 bushings per arm, so 4 bushings, 2 of the toe link sleeve and 2 of the low lateral sleeve. So I got those, and they are currently installed on the car. You can see the white of the toe link bushing there, the sleeves inside there. So that is the rear suspension. That took a really long time to get kind of sorted and figured out. So it was a lot of work, but I think all of my notes and all the making and all the buying parts and all the ordering things and finding eccentric bolts from Mazda dealers that don't exist except for on the internet, and tracking all that down and buying $4 nuts from Bergstrom and all that jazz was worth it, because now I know that the next time I have to work on this, everything is anti-seized and put together correctly and torqued and nice, and I don't have to worry about it, and it's pretty. So, I'm just going to clean up that brake shield a little bit more. But really, we are ready to go with the rear suspension. These are the Koenig brand rims that I mentioned in a prior video. They've been sandblasted, and I just shot some black onto them. So those are going to go onto these 4 tires in the shot right here, and these are the Indy 500 Firestones or whatever. I got a good deal on them. They were used off a Mustang, and they are going to work for right now, so we're going to run those on these rims, and that's going to be the first round of tires that'll go onto here. And then a quick update on motorcycles and mopeds and things. I got this moped, and I added that little sticker that Nick made me from AVE onto the moped. And then this is a 350, Honda CB350 from 1971 that I bought off of a buddy of mine because he was done working on it, and I thought I would take it over. So I tried to build this in 2 weeks, and it ended up being doable, a bit of a challenge, but then ultimately I threw my back out wasn't able to ride it, and it needs coils, so it kind of misfires and pops and sputters and all that. But it is together, and it looks good from 10 feet away, so we'll take that as a win, and at least it's not taking up a lot of space. It's just the size of one motorcycle. One bit of parts that I forgot about is that I did end up getting a set of RX8 seats, the stock cloth seats with manual sliders and all that junk. I got those from a local junkyard, so those are going to be the first seats that are going to be running here. A little safer than buckets since we're not going with a full cage right away. But yeah, so we have those, and they are pretty okay. So that I think should catch you up on everything. Like I said, it's kind of been a lot of work, but also I feel like I have nothing to show for it, but the car's kind of together. Next up is going to be doing the brakes, rebuilding those, and we're going to get the engine prepped to go into the car for final installation so we can make the drive shaft to diff brace and get the drive shaft made. And then we're on to wiring. So that's kind of the next steps. I will be filming those and posting updates more regularly. So if you want to see those, subscribe below, or the notification thing that I don't know how it works or use or whatever. Just do that, I guess. So cool, and I'll catch you later.